Hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to another live Manchester United news, transfer news, and update show on the channel. Duncan Castles, who is, in my opinion, a good source of information, particularly when it comes to George Mendes clients. Not that Mbeumo is a George Mendes client, but he definitely has good relationships with George Mendes and certain agents in the game, has confirmed Manchester United's second offer for Bryan Mbeumo. We're going to talk about that. Over £60 million. Surely that gets the deal done. Surely other reports coming out saying there's a meeting ongoing now. Some journalists are now saying it's going to be done in the next few days. Mbeumo to United seems to be heating up big time. Are Brentford going to accept the new offer? What is the latest on that? We're going to talk about that. We obviously haven't got any confirmation from Ornstein or Romano yet on a new offer, but I do think that Duncan Castles is a good source of information. United in for Diogo Costa. United big fans of Diogo Costa. I mean, I wouldn't say they're in for Diogo Costa because we'd need Onana to be sold to get him, and Onana, as of now, doesn't look like being sold. But apparently he's United's sort of goalkeeper dream target, but I think that's quite unlikely given the price of him. Rashford latest, we're going to talk about Barcelona. There's some Saudi interest in Rashford. There's also updates on other players like long-term plan for Agate. All of that kind of stuff as well. So, hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to your live Manchester United news, transfer news, and update show, where we're going to round up all the news into a short little live show here for you guys. If you do enjoy today's show, feel free to hit that like button, and if you're new and not subscribed, you're more than welcome to subscribe. Again, with Diogo Costa, we're not going to spend much time on it because Onana is still here and they want a ridiculous fee, and it's only possible if Onana leaves, to be honest. But a few people are talking about it. He's good, but he's overrated. He's got mistakes in him as well. I am out in London, so different backdrop. The lighting in here is horrendous. It makes me look really red. But I've got to lean forward because my mic is here as well. But we are in London. But yeah, there's some positive updates on Mbeumo that I want to get into, some positive signs. So let's get into that. We'll then get into other stories. Ben Jacobs said a few interesting things on the United stand, so definitely check that out. I won't get into all of that, but we'll discuss a few key things mentioned on that later. But yeah, let's talk about Mbeumo. So the first story is coming in from Duncan Castles. Now, as I said, I do think Duncan Castles is a good source of information. I think he was the first guy to link us to Agate and say that deal was on and when it was off. He was really spot on with the Agate news. The problem is with Duncan Castles is when it comes to George Mendes clients, he's on the money. I think he was the first to confirm Ronaldo was leaving Man United and stuff like that. When it comes to George Mendes clients, I think that he is the guy. I don't think Mbeumo is a George Mendes client. I feel like I'd know if he was a George Mendes client. So I guess this makes his story a little bit less credible. But Duncan Castles, for me, is a credible source of information. I think he's one of the better journalists. And you know me, like I'm quite honest with journalists. Like I trust him. He said that United have offered a package worth more than 60 million to Brentford for Mbeumo. So he's basically saying we've offered Brentford 60 million plus for Mbeumo. Now, he's not mentioned if that is an official bid or a verbal bid. But he's saying we've offered to give Brentford more than 60 million. That could be a verbal offer. That could be an official bid. We'll have to see if Ornstein or Romano does anything soon. But Manchester United have offered a package worth more than 60 million for Bryan Mbeumo. Now, considering we were told all the last few months that Bryan Mbeumo would cost 50 to 55 million pounds, and then Man United enter the race and they want 65 to 70 million pounds. United make a 55 million bid in total. It gets rejected. If Manchester United are offering more than 60 million, so we're talking 62.5 to 65 million for Mbeumo, surely that gets the deal done. Surely Brentford aren't going to really go and hold down for 70 million. Surely 62 million, the same as Cunha, gets the deal done, particularly with Mbeumo pushing for the news. Obviously Spurs are in for Mbeumo as well, but they've walked away and looked at other targets, and they are trying to put out that, if Spurs bid 70 million for Mbeumo, he'll go to Spurs and not Man United. But no, he won't, because if Man United bid 65 million, he wants Man United, I think he would just say to Brentford, I want Manchester United. Those mixed reports that, Spurs could come in and bid 70 million. I don't believe that Daniel Levy is just going to come in and bid 70 million for Mbeumo, especially after spending 40 million nearly on Tell. But United have offered a package worth more than 60 million, which surely should be accepted, right? I think if it's a base fee of 55 million, that will be accepted, hopefully. Unless Brentford are going to be crazy crazy greedy, because obviously this was said in regards to Brentford, that Brentford wants at least 70 million to sell Mbeumo and would do everything possible to achieve that. I mean, like 1 year left on this deal, he was £55 million, and then Man United come in and you decide that you want at least 70 million to sell. I mean, it's ridiculous. Let's be honest. If it was just Newcastle in the race, he would have gone for 55 million already. It's classic Manchester United tax. And yes, there's competition, Newcastle, Arsenal, Tottenham. But those teams know he's chosen Man United, and those teams don't want to pay 70 million for him either. And I think Brentford are trying to use that competition to get 70 million for Mbeumo. Now, as of now, our new offer for Mbeumo hasn't been accepted or rejected, but it's suggested that Brentford wants 70 million. We're offering over 60 million. Now, for me, I like Mbeumo. I think it would be a fantastic signing, Mbeumo. Absolutely love Mbeumo. But we shouldn't be paying 70 million plus for him. We should be able to get this deal done for the same price as Cunha at a max, 62.5 million, including add-ons. You know, I don't know why they're pushing for 70 million. It's probably because Manchester United are interested. They obviously haven't rejected this bid. But United have offered just over 60 million. They haven't rejected the bid, but they might start putting out information that they think Tottenham will bid 70 million to try and see if that scares United into bidding more. They haven't accepted it. They haven't rejected it. Are they waiting to see if they think they could get more out of United? Are they waiting to see if anyone else comes in and matches the bid? I don't know. I don't think anyone's going to bid 70 million for Mbeumo. Despite the amount of clubs interested in him, I don't think anyone's going to bid 70 million for him. Despite, you know, them thinking people might come in and bid 70 million, I don't think anyone will. So I think it could be enough to get Mbeumo over the line. It really could be. And even if it's not, the Mbeumo deal was obviously very, very close. Someone's saying nothing new again. How's that not new? Like, that's the second bid. We've been sitting here for 2 weeks going, where's the second bid? Well, a good source of information has said a second bid has come in, and a second bid could get the deal done if they accept it. We don't know that yet, but we're talking Man United now going over the 60 million range, which they didn't do last time. I think that's quite significant news. 55 plus 10 should get a deal done. If 55 plus 10 doesn't get a deal done, that is a disgrace. I mean, there's indications of a meeting, and I'm gonna get into the news, but there's indications right now of a meeting going on between United and Brentford, like right now. If Man United have offered over 60 million and there's a meeting right now, that meeting might be to discuss things like potential add-ons in that offer, or to tweak that offer at 1 million more here or 1 million more here. That might be it. And then maybe if they come to a good conclusion after that meeting today, maybe Brentford accept the bid and maybe we get the here we go. Someone talked about 62 plus 5 minutes in add-ons. Well, that's probably what Brentford will want, but we should be giving them 55 plus 10 at the most. 55 plus 7.5 at the most. Cunha was 62.5 million. That's how much Mbeumo could be. Alice, why has the Mbeumo price gone up so much? Because of what we paid for Cunha and the fact that Man United are in for him and there's competition. As I think it was Romano or Ornstein or someone said, Brentford are like Brighton. They want as much money as possible. So let's get into news on an Mbeumo bid, shall we? New meeting in the last few hours between United, Brentford for Bryan Mbeumo. Further progressions on fee discussions. It's not sealed but advancing. So it looks like there's a meeting ongoing between Manchester United and Brentford, and there has been today in these last few hours. That's interesting news. We've had this reports of a second offer coming in. We had reports of it being really close, and now we're being told today, second meeting is taking place. Further progress on discussions. Nothing is sealed, but everything's advancing. So nothing is done, but second bid coming in. Things are advancing, and Mbeumo wants to move. Man United wants to move. What we know on Mbeumo is everybody wants the move. Every single party wants to make the move happen, but Brentford want it at this price, and United want it at that price, which can stall things along, which can be annoying. Oh, it's really hot, guys. I'm dying. Bear with me. Getting some air. I don't know if you're in the UK, but it's boiling. Okay. When you just got to open the door for a second, just to let a bit of air in. It's boiling, and look, UK heat is different. I tell you this now, I can deal with the heat in Spain, I can deal with the heat in Greece, I can deal with the heat in Italy, but in the UK, particularly London, where I am today for some work stuff, and my water's run out now. Well, actually, there's a little bit left. I'm dying. Well, I'm going to get back into the news, but UK heat is nasty. UK is not made for summer. It's not made for summer. Um, Big up Majestic, Alice, don't let them rile them, just report the news. Love your content. Appreciate that. Look, at the end of the day, my job is just to report the news. Like, I'm not a journalist. I am literally a YouTuber that reports the news and gives my opinions on it. And I think because Man United have been talking with Mbeumo for 3 weeks and we haven't done a deal, people get frustrated at me. And I'm like, look, I'm telling you what the journalists are telling us. You know, I'm not telling you Mbeumo's being done tomorrow. I'm not telling you Mbeumo is done deal. I'm telling you this source says this, I think this source is good, he says this, so the likely scenario is this could happen. Or I'll say this source says this and this is great news, but I don't think this source is very good. You know, my job is I round up all the news from credible sources, but if the news is doing the rounds online, then I will pick up what uncredible sources have said, or if it's a rogue story, an unknown source, I'll pick it up, I'll read out the story, I'll give it my thoughts, I'll tell you how credible it is. If I think it's PR, because sometimes there's credible journalists that say things, but you can tell they've been briefed by clubs. You know, a lot of credible journalists are briefed by agents, they are briefed by clubs as well. So I just basically give my thoughts on all the news and stories. And Rudy Galletti is saying that there's a new meeting going on with United and Brentford in regards to Mbeumo. At the same time, apparently, according to Duncan Castles, an offer of over 60 million is coming from United. Now, it was believed 2 weeks ago that an offer, if it went just over £60 million, Brentford would accept. We're now being told, well, United are making an offer just over £60 million, which 2 weeks ago we were told Brentford would accept. Today we're told we don't know if Brentford are going to accept it, but they haven't rejected it yet. But now they want 70 million and think Spurs are going to pay 70 million. Brentford are trying it on. But look, there's progression. It's not done yet, but you know it's advancing in regards to Mbeumo and United. Our incomings are slow, the outgoings are even slower. Vivol needs to move faster. Look, as of now, I'm not too concerned, but the closer and closer we get to pre-season, the more concerned I'm going to be. Look, would I rather Manchester... Look, if someone said to me, we can get Mbeumo done today for 70 million, or we can get Mbeumo done this time next week for 64 million, I'm happy to wait a week if it's going to save us 6 million quid. But what I'm not happy to do is wait months. I'm happy to wait a few weeks to delay a deal, but I want Mbeumo, I want Cunha. Well, Cunha's in. I want Cunha's done. I want Mbeumo, and I want at least one more signing on pre-season tour. I want at least 3 new signings on pre-season tour. Yeah. What someone said. How much is Mbeumo apparently on? Apparently 150k. Some sources say 180k. One source says 250k, which got all the attention. Interestingly, it said the feeling, according to Ben Jacobs, the feeling is that Ruben Amorim would prefer to keep Xerxes over Højlund this summer. There has been conversation about Højlund going to Inter. That could be one to watch because ultimately, I think Man United are working on sales. The sales have been slow. Hopefully, we get some sales over the line. But I want to continue on into the Mbeumo news, and then we will talk about a few other stories. So, in regards to Mbeumo as well, Ben Jacobs, when he was asked about the Ekatike transfer on the United Stand today, obviously spoke a little about the Ekatike transfer and the latest on that, which isn't much. But he said the club's main focus remains on completing a deal for Mbeumo. David Ornstein says the likely next signing would be Mbeumo. That's who we're working on. Ramon has made it clear Mbeumo still wants Manchester United despite rumours of him to Tottenham. Ben Jacobs is saying right now, while the club has looked at Ekatike, the main focus is Mbeumo. Duncan Castles is now saying an offer over 60 million has gone in, which 2 weeks ago we were told that Brentford would accept any offers over 60 million, but they haven't accepted that yet. And now we're being told about a meeting in regards to Mbeumo with Man United and Brentford having a meeting right now. It was also said by Anil Kandola of TalkSport today that Brian Mbeumo to Manchester United is close to being completed and the announcement should be made within a week from now. So that could be this time next week. Mbeumo's done. That could be this time tomorrow. I mean, it might not be done this time next week. It's hard to predict when things are done, but he's basically must have got some strong indication that United are going to wrap up the Mbeumo deal today or in the coming days. If it's not 3 hellos, it's a good job, Alice. Hello. Thank you for the super chat there. Do you think United are in for Ekatike? Yes, but I think they're waiting to see how they could structure a deal, how much his price will go down. I think they're definitely in for him, especially with Gyökeres preferring Arsenal, Osimhen's wage demands. I think United are definitely in for Ekatike. If I can find what was said on Ekatike, I will get it up. Romano said that there's a feeling among the top English clubs that Frankfurt could accept around 80 million euros for Hugo Ekitike. So 80 euros. I'm going to Google that. 80 euros. What is this? 80 euros in pounds. So Romano's saying there's a feeling now among British clubs that they could accept 68 million pounds. 68 million pounds, if a good amount of that's add-ons, isn't too bad. But if a lot of it's up front, then I don't like the idea of 68 million pounds in regards to Ekitike. It does look like his price is coming down from 85 million into the mid-late 60s range, which is better. But you'd want him for 60 million including add-ons, 65 million including add-ons at the most. So I will get into the Ekitike news in a second because there is a few big and positive updates coming in regards to Ekitike. But as someone said, still more than Marmoush, and he's not better than Marmoush. Is it because City gave him loads up front for Marmoush and Ekitike can be scheduled in installments? Potentially. But he shouldn't cost more than Marmoush. I completely agree with that. So let's get into a couple other stories. We'll talk about the goalkeeper, and then I'm going to go back into Ekitike, and then we can have some conversations about Mbeumo. As I open the door one more time. It's hot. I'm just letting some air in. Okay. When you're in a small, confined box, it gets so hot. Okay, so there has been a few things said on Diogo Costa. I'm not really going to spend more than 2 minutes talking about it because I don't think we'll sign him. But this is what's been said. Diogo Costa has been Ruben Amorim's preferred option in goal since January in case Manchester United decide to replace Onana. United would like to replace Onana. Amorim would like a new goalkeeper. The chances of that happening are very, very minimal. Now, Ben Jacobs was on the United stand today, and he said, while United haven't made an approach, Diogo Costa is a name that United like eternally. They're fans of him. Now, Argentina keep pushing this Emi Martinez to Manchester United stuff. All of these Argentinian sources keep pushing Emi Martinez to Man United, Emi Martinez to Man United, all this Emi Martinez to Manchester United stuff. And being totally honest with you, I think I don't know if we're in for Emi Martinez. I don't know if I fully believe it. I believe that we're looking at goalkeepers. I believe that they're hoping Onana will leave, but it's very unlikely now. But I don't know if I believe that we're really looking at Emi Martinez. £40 million. I don't think he's worth that much. But they're now saying one of the names that's being discussed internally is Diogo Costa. They're fans of him. Look, Man United are fans of a lot of goalkeepers. Man United are looking at a lot of goalkeepers, which indicates to me they'd like Onana to leave. Onana will only go if Saudi go in for him and offer us the money we want and him the wages he wants, which is looking unlikely. It didn't happen with Casemiro last summer. So for me, we're interested in Diogo Costa. We like Diogo Costa. But as Ben Jacobs said, he's just one of the names United have discussed internally. We've not made any advancements. We've not made any moves. And until we sell a goalkeeper, there's really no point spending too much time talking about goalkeeping news. It is get Mbeumo done. After we get Mbeumo done, we'll probably have updates on midfield and striker. Work on sales after we get Mbeumo done. Potentially move for striker. Potentially move for midfielder next. I think goalkeeper depends on Onana, and there's nothing with Onana in Saudi. If Bayendier goes, I think we'll buy a good second goalkeeper to challenge Onana. But Diogo Costa, with his price tag of around 60 million, he's not going to be a second goalkeeper. Big up everybody as well. Do I have aircon? Not in here. In the main room I do, but because I'm filming, I don't want to film in the main room because everyone will just hear me chat shit. So I am in like an absolute just tight box. Just letting some air in every minute or so. If I hear someone's name one more time, I'll scream. I'm just going to call him someone's name for you then. It is annoying how things drag on. Like last summer, we knew we were kind of getting a Ugarte and it dragged on for a bit. We knew we were getting Delict and Mazraoui and it dragged on for a bit. It's annoying how things drag on. We've seen the fixture list at the beginning of the season. City, Chelsea and Arsenal within the first 5 games. They've done Amorim very, very dirty in that sense. It's one of those where it's annoying that these deals are dragging on and this and that. But it is, Ineos showed us with Branthwaite, they're not the Man United that are going to go and overpay. They looked at what we've done with Anthony, they looked at what we've done with Højlund, and they're trying to just say, look, stop mugging us about, stop this United tax, we want this player, this is the most we're going to pay, and rather than, and they're willing to wait a bit. And it's like, I want Mbeumo done for pre-season tour, but I don't mind if we spend another 2 weeks faffing on Mbeumo if it gets him down 5 million, as long as he's in the door for pre-season tour. If we're getting to the other end of July this time next month and we haven't got Mbeumo, then I would get frustrated. But until we're in that pre-season tour territory, I understand why United, it's annoying. It's annoying, but I understand. Obviously, as well, after Mbeumo, we need to sell. We can get Cunha, we can get Mbeumo, but after that, we need to sell. Because we can't do anything after that until we sell. Now, the big ones is Rashford, because it's pure profit and we get him off the wage bill, and the other big one is Garnacho. Now, interestingly, one of the things that Ben Jacobs did mention on the United Stand today was that our Ali would be open to a deal for Rashford if he changes his mind. He also has other options in Italy. Ben Jacobs, who's been pretty good with his Saudi links as well, is suggesting there's a few teams in for Marcus Rashford. There is a bit of interest. Marcus Rashford dreams, and Marcus Rashford is absolutely dreaming of moving to Barcelona. But Barcelona are in for Nico Williams. They're working on a deal for Nico Williams, which makes Rashford's dream less likely, although some sources believe that Barcelona can get both. It means Rashford's move to Barcelona is less likely. Now, the good thing about Rashford is, one, he's willing to take a wage cut, and two, he has interest in Italy, he has interest from other clubs in England. There's a feeling that Marcus Rashford could drag on into August, but he will be sold. There's a feeling that Anthony Real Betis are taking the mick, but he will be sold. The difficult ones, I think, is going to be Sancho. I think Sancho is going to be the difficult one to offload, and potentially Rashford. I think Garnacho, when it happens, it will happen quick. I think Anthony, it will happen despite the silly bids. But the tough one is going to be in regards to getting Rashford and Sancho out. And Rashford doesn't want to go to Saudi. He wants to play in the World Cup. He wants to play football. Otherwise, he'd just go back to Manchester United. And, he wants Barcelona. They all of a sudden said to Man United that they could only afford a loan deal for Rashford. They can't afford a permanent. And then they've found 50 million to go and buy Nico Williams, who's on ridiculous wage demands. Barcelona have been mugging us about, and I don't know if Barcelona are going in for Rashford now. I'd love to see Rashford at Barcelona under Hansi Flick. I think he'd be great. I don't know if that's happening now. I don't think he wants to go to Saudi, so you might have to watch Rashford in Italian clubs. If AC Milan sell Leao, I think Rashford's one of the first names they'll be looking at as a potential replacement, especially with them being able to get 60 million for Leao and someone of Rashford's quality for 40 million. It's quite a bit. That's a good bit of business. There is Anthony news, but it's not really like new news. It's just like, update stories. Like, it was said that Real Betis want to sign Anthony permanently. Real Betis are growing optimistic they can secure Anthony, but it could take a few weeks to finalise the deal. It could be complicated. But Real Betis want to do a permanent deal now, but it could be complicated because we want 35 million. They don't want to pay more than 25 million. Let's just agree a 30 million exit. That's the way I see it. Let's just agree a 30 million exit. Alice, you think Mbeumo's coming? I do, but you never know. I do think he'll come, but you never know. So, in regards to Mbeumo, there's a meeting ongoing. A good source has said a second bid has gone in, which hasn't been rejected, but it's not been accepted. So, we'll have to wait and see. Do I think Mbeumo could end up at Spurs? And Chrissy says if Mbeumo ends up at Spurs after this saga, Ineos will look stupid. They will, unless Spurs really. Unless Spurs really think that they can. Let me reply to this. Unless Spurs, sorry, my text just went, and that was really loud. That bling, wasn't it? Really loud. Sorry. Mbeumo's not going to go to Spurs unless they bid 70 million and United walk away. Brentford are putting out obviously United's his first choice, but look, if Spurs bidded 70 million, then they could accept that. And he could go to Spurs if Spurs bid 70 million. But do you think Daniel Levy is very tight, and Daniel Levy wants Mbeumo as much as we want Mbeumo. But if he's seeing Manchester United, who are the kings of overpaying, saying, look, 62.5 million for Mbeumo or we walk away, do I really think Daniel Levy would go all out and pay 70 million for Mbeumo with 1 year left on his deal? That much money because Brentford want that much? No. I think Brentford are using the fact that Thomas Frank is at Spurs and that Tottenham, they're not a threat, but if United walk away, he will then go to Tottenham. He's chosen United over Tottenham, but he's not said no to Tottenham. If United walk away, he's happy to go to Tottenham. I think Brentford are trying to use that to get 70 million out of United to try and make out that Tottenham would pay 70 million for him. I don't know if Tottenham would, But obviously there is that small fear that, look, Tottenham could bid 70 million tomorrow, Man United walk away and he goes to Tottenham for 70 million. But I don't even think Tottenham want to pay that kind of money for him. So I'm not too worried about him going to Spurs, but it is possible. Like, I'm confident. We're having a meeting. We've put in a second offer. Tottenham have been looking at Eze and Semenyo and looking elsewhere. They believe, that their chances are slim and they're looking elsewhere. Like, I feel confident we'll get Mbeumo done, but look, I thought we were going to get Frankie de Jong 3 summers ago and we didn't, Sometimes you can feel confident that we'll get someone and we don't. Spurs could go for Vissa. Yeah, I think Vissa makes a lot of sense for Spurs. With Gyökeres, people are asking me about Gyökeres. In regards to Victor Gyökeres, it's he wants Arsenal. Arsenal haven't chosen. If Arsenal go for Sesko, it's possible. Apparently, George Mendes is not involved in that saga. Romano said on Ekatike, a deal could be done in the £70 million range. And Premier League clubs are looking at that, but that's, Liverpool and Chelsea are interested. Duncan Castle says, Mbeumo's indicated he wants to go to United. He verbally told Man United that they're his first choice. But if Tottenham got closer to the 70 million asking price than Man United, then there's a chance he could go to Tottenham. If Man United don't match what Tottenham offer, is what's been said by Duncan Castles. In regards to other news stories, Ben Jacobs mentioned that those at Man United do have faith in Ugarte. I think out of all the Ineos signings, people are a bit more sceptical about Ugarte than everyone else that Ineos have signed this summer. But there's a feeling he can be good next season and work. United apparently are not in the race for Victor Osimhen because of his silly wage demands, said Ben Jacobs as well, which is annoying because I'd love Osimhen. I think he's great, but apparently the wage demands are ridiculous. And that doesn't surprise me that we're not in for him. There's a lot of sources that said we were in for him, but again, they weren't tier 1 sources. I think if he would lower his wage demands, I think we'd definitely go in for Osimhen. But I think Osimhen's very unlikely. I think this summer it's Gyökeres and Ekatike we're looking at a striker. If we can't get them, we go and do our other business and we revisit the striker market in August. Ben Jacobs said on Mbeumo that United obviously in constant contact. And he said on Ekatike that United have interest in Ekatike. It's at an early stage because they're focusing on Mbeumo, as I said earlier. But we know from Ben Jacobs, Romano, all the reliable sources that Chelsea and United's interest in Ekatike is there. Although he suggests that maybe it's been over-exaggerated by German sources, aka Frankfurt feeding German sources, that United and Chelsea are more interested in Ekatike than they actually are, because they know Liverpool are in for him, and maybe Liverpool are favourites to get him, and maybe they want to use United and Chelsea to get a better bid out of Liverpool. You never know. But what Ben Jacobs is saying is that what he said is that Chelsea United have interest in Ekatike, but it's been exaggerated from Frankfurt's side to encourage a bidding war, is what Ben Jacobs' exact words were. United and Chelsea are in for Ekatike. Ben Jacobs said that, but he suggests that, that we're making talks, this and that, about Ekatike could be to increase a bidding war because Liverpool are there. Gyökeres prefers Arsenal, but he's not turned down Man United. It's been said by many people as well. And I think Gyökeres is just one to watch. But I think it is get Mbeumo done, get it over the line, work on out, see what happens with this Gyökeres-Sesko situation in regards to Arsenal. And then I think with Ekatike, it's see what happens, see if the price goes down. Something tells me that Liverpool will probably sign Ekatike. How at least Crystal Palace are in talks with Sporting for Ousmane Diomande. That'd be a really good deal for Crystal Palace. I like the player, a little bit overrated, but a very, very good player. So that's an interesting update from Romano, if you said that. Alice, did you see all the empty seats at the Man City game yesterday? Yeah. To be fair to Man City, like there was empty seats at the Chelsea game. Liverpool hold interest in Mark Gay as well. That because Ten Hag's going to buy Kwanzaa. Isn't it typical that Ten Hag wants to buy a Liverpool player and not a Man United player? I really wanted Ten Hag to give us 40 million for Anthony or 50 million for Onana and help us out, and he's going in for Liverpool players. Alice, did you see Brentford posted a comp of Mbeumo today, helping us out already? I mean, look, we can watch that Brentford comp of Mbeumo when he signs for us, hopefully soon. What else has been said in regards to news? It's just that, United prefer Xerxes to Højlund, and, they want to back Xerxes. Højlund's more likely to go. There's interest in Rashford from many clubs. There's interest in Garnacho from many clubs, but Garnacho wants to stay in the Prem. Sancho and Napoli, there's a little bit of interest there, but nothing's advanced. That's the situation. Anthony and Betis want to buy him permanently, but they're giving silly bids in. That's the sort of situation. But right now it is meeting going on with Man United and Mbeumo. Man United want to get Mbeumo over the line. Second offers come in. Hopefully Brentford accept. Um, so yeah, Lucky Singh says we had a second bid of 62.7 million for Brian Mbeumo. We told player would reject Tottenham proposals. I think he wants Man United, but if Man United walked away, he'd go to Tottenham. So he's not going to do a I would reject Tottenham, only Man United in case we walk away. But I think he particularly wants us. I don't know where you've got that figure from, but it is being reported that we've offered just over 60 million for Mbeumo by Duncan Castles, who for me is a top source. Look, you have to wait and see what Romano says. You have to wait and see what Ornstein says. But I assume that we're in the race for Mbeumo. We're having a meeting. We've reportedly made a second offer, so things could advance soon. Napoli are now in negotiations with Torino for Vanja Milinkovic-Savic, who was a target of us if Bayindir, a target of ours in case Bayindir leaves. So Napoli might want to swoop him up quick while Bayindir is still at United and we can't make a move for him, maybe. But he's available for 15.5 million. I think the most likely goalkeeper signing is Milinkovic-Savic if he doesn't move to Napoli, who are in for him. But Roman has just confirmed Napoli are in for Milinkovic-Savic. But listen, people, I just wanted to round up the news. United in for Mbeumo. There's a meeting ongoing today. Reports of a second bid have gone in. Could be a here we go soon. Brentford may reject the second bid because they still want 70 million. This is just over 60 million. Ekatike, there's interest there. We like him. The price has been lowered, but there's a lot of competition. United could be being used to encourage a bidding war. Marcus Rashford has interest from Saudi clubs. Marcus Rashford has interest from many clubs. He still wants Barcelona, but they're going for Nico Williams. Sancho has interest from Napoli, but nothing's advanced. They're looking at Ndoye. Alejandro Garnacho wants a Premier League move. There's interest in him, but nothing advanced as of yet. Anthony Batiste, there's bids going in, but nothing good yet. And also said that Diogo Costa was a goalkeeper that Amorim wants. But again, I don't see Diogo Costa coming to United. Thank you everyone for watching today's live show. I'm going to wrap up the show here. Thank you for watching. Bye.